This podcast is part of the Big Heads Media Podcast Network. Go to bigheadsmedia.com for more great podcasts.
Support for Meow Mix comes from Manscaped, who is best in men's below-the-belt grooming. Manscaped offers precision-engineered tools for your family jewels. Listen up, fellas. It's almost Christmas time. You want to clean up, give your wife or your girlfriend or your Tinder date or whoever a nice present for the holidays. Get that gentleman sausage nice and clean. The huevos as well. But you don't want to hurt yourself while you're doing it. Sometimes you nick a little huevo down there and you spill a little yolk, but you want to make sure that you're doing it the right way.
You never want to spill any yolk. That's why this revolutionary company, Manscaped, has redesigned the electrical trimmer. Their Lawnmower 2.0 has proprietary advanced skin-safe technology, so this trimmer won't nick or snag your huevos. It's also waterproof, so you can use it in the shower.
The Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0 also offers the Crop Preserver. That's an anti-chafing ball deodorant and moisturizer. You already put deodorant on your armpits. Why aren't you putting deodorant on the smelliest part of your body?
Yeah, and these products smell good. Their manly scent is attractive and will help set the mood for, well, you know what I mean.
This is the season to manscape. So get yourself, your dad, your brother, your friends, the best gift of all, the Manscaped Perfect Package 2.0. Get 20% off and free shipping with the code BIGHEADS at manscaped.com. That's 20% with free shipping at manscaped.com. And use code BIGHEADS. Clean up your nuts and make Santa proud this year.
Yeah.
Mrs. Claus, too. Hello, everyone, and welcome to Meow Mix, a Carolina Panthers podcast. My name is Steven.
My name is Jerry.
And on today's show, we will be discussing the Carolina Panthers New Orleans Saints game coming up this Sunday. We will talk about the power rankings, as we do occasionally.
But most weeks. Most weeks.
Yeah, most weeks. They're becoming less and less fun to talk about, but that's okay. We're going to kick off the show today, though, talking about probably the biggest news in Panthers land. David Tepper speaks.
Yeah, something that Jerry Richardson never did.
Yeah.
You just always saw him in his little box like a statue with that grumpy face. David Tepper, he pulled something out here. He shocked a lot of people with this.
Well, yeah, why don't you tell us how this kind of came together?
Well, he held a press conference or an interview, however you want to really call this.
I think you might want to call it like a meeting.
Yeah, a meeting.
It wasn't really a press conference.
He supposedly, the Panthers organization went out to about 20 members of the media, mostly local guys and girls, and just gave them a 30 minutes heads up and it's like, hey, Tepper's going to speak. You're invited. Be at the stadium in 30 minutes. I heard one reporter say that he lives in South Park and was in South Park, and, you know, it's a 45-minute drive at least. And he was like, I was rushing, but I guess it started a little late, so he got there on time. But that's, you know, shocking, especially just to pull it out and being like, this is happening. And it was on Monday, too, right after the game.
I think a lot of people were hoping that Tepper would speak, you know, given the state of the franchise right now, the state of the team. Losing 3 out of the last 4, getting waxed by, frankly, a not very good Atlanta Falcons team. But Tepper, interestingly enough, he did not want to be directly quoted, except for one quote.
Yes, one quote. Do you want to read it?
Go ahead.
Every time we have a loss, my mood is shitty. Yeah, me too.
Yeah, me too. Tepper's a fan just like us. So other than that quote, he did not want to be directly quoted. He did not want any sort of recordings or video of the press conference. So basically everything that we know about this is sort of written in context by the reporters that were there. Mm-hmm. He also did not want to talk about Marty Hurney or Ron Rivera's jobs at all.
No, he said that was basically a no-go on. He would not entertain any of the questions about them.
Which is probably fine because that's probably where most of the questions would be coming from, But he did probably the biggest takeaway. Well, there were several big takeaways, but one of the biggest takeaways, if you're looking at Rivera and Hurney specifically, is that Tepper specifically said that he is not going to tolerate mediocrity from this franchise anymore. And if you look at the Ron Rivera tenure here, other than the Super Bowl, when that one Super Bowl season, been pretty mediocre overall.
Yeah, they're basically 500 over the past 3 seasons. I mean, they're not
exactly
good enough.
500 over the last 3 seasons. Exactly 500. I think they're 29 and 29.
Okay, well, 29 and 29.
Yeah, over the last 3 seasons. Now, of course, before that, he had the 15-1 season. Yeah. He's had an 11-5 season, a 12-4 season, but he's had a lot of 6-10, 7-9s, 7-8-1. This year is probably going to be an 8-8, somewhere around there season. So that's mediocrity personified right there. It's average.
Yeah, and he said, I didn't accept mediocrity in business, and I don't expect to accept mediocrity here. And that shows a type of person. He wants to win. This is not going to be, something he lets go if we continue to, or if the Panthers continue to lose.
Yeah. A good way to sort of passive-aggressively put Rivera and Hurney on notice.
Yeah.
I think also. You don't shape up and win, enough games to at least sniff the playoffs. You're not going to be here next year.
Yeah. I thought that was pretty clear. I guess just in NFL standards, I felt it was pretty clear at the beginning of the season. We mentioned it on this cast a few times that it was playoffs or bust for him, and I guess Tepper kind of instrumentally told that again.
So Hurney and Rivera were kind of off limits, but he did talk about Cam, which may be the second biggest thing, or tied for the first, however you want to look at it. He made it very clear that he is open to bringing Cam back if he's healthy. He's not going to make a decision on Cam until they know the full extent of the health. And
that's obvious. You don't want to make the decision before he's healthy. And again, he alluded to it too. He's not going to accept mediocrity. So if Rivera's gone, Hurney's gone, the whole new regime would have to also include in that.
Sure, that would be their decision, I would imagine.
I mean, if you bring in a coach who is a pure pocket passer, he's probably not going to want Cam.
Yeah, I would be surprised. Well, I don't know. I mean, the way the NFL is going, I would hope that he doesn't bring in a coach who's so set in his ways that he can't.
Oh, agree.
Adapt with your talent.
If we get another coach, I hope it's an offensive guy who is very adaptive to the players he has.
I mean, just for a minute here, let's step away from this and think about John Harbaugh.
Yes.
With Baltimore, right? Had Joe Flacco, who's a pocket passer for years.
Mm-hmm. Statue.
They happened to luck into Lamar Jackson, and I say luck into because even if they want to exclaim how much they loved him and wanted to draft him, well, they passed on him with their first pick. Mm-hmm. Then they passed on him with their second pick because they traded back, and then they finally traded back up to get him. So they let plenty of teams
have their chance.
Yeah, if they wanted him. But they saw what they had when he was on the team, and they completely changed their entire makeup offensively.
I think you have to do that nowadays.
You do, especially if you get that special kind of talent, which he is. So I'm hoping that, if Ron does leave, that whoever comes in is that type of coach that's very adaptable and smart enough to understand that if you have a young player who is a generational type talent, or even better than what you currently have, that you go with that.
Yeah.
Brian Burns.
Exactly, Brian Burns. And that's a problem we've had with Ron Rivera before. Mm-hmm. I've discussed it before. He has a fear of playing rookies. I mean, I know they're going to make mistakes, but you drafted them for a reason. Brian Burns is a great example. When he's on the field, he's making plays. Even if it's only 11, 16 snaps, he's making plays. Why do they not trust in letting him learn on the field?
Yeah.
Especially now. I mean, how much worse was Brian Burns going to play than the rest of our, defense did?
You got to inject some excitement, some young players in there, especially now that we're 5-5. it's going to take a Herculean effort to actually make the playoffs, and you're going to have to get lucky with some of these other teams to fall down a bit, because even though Ron Rivera said in his latest press conference that, we have the control of our own destiny, that's not true.
Yeah.
We could win out and not make the playoffs.
Is that Christian McCaffrey's new nickname, Herculean?
Herculean.
Because that's what we're going to have to use.
Yeah, well, maybe that's the plan now, is just get him that MVP at all costs. But
yeah,
you're going to have to win 10 games at least for that to even be a possibility. But anyway, back to Tepper's press conference. What else jumped out at you?
I'm going to go back to what I said earlier, that they only invited 20 members and only gave them 30 minutes to get there. I feel like he invited 20 local guys and girls. Again, girls.
Women.
Women, yes.
They're women, Jerry.
Guys
They're
and
professionals.
Girls. But I feel like he reached out to the people that he likes, trusts, and knows this organization pretty well. That way they wouldn't spin it to the Stephen A. Smith version or any of the other ESPN top brass type of pundits that they like. Oh, Cam Newton's gone. Kyle Allen's a future. Which, speaking of which, he did speak glowingly of Kyle Allen, saying that he was a lot better than he was expecting.
Well, I think that's certainly true. He did give Kyle Allen some kudos for coming in and having a winning record, up to this point with the team once Cam went down. So certainly this season could have gone a lot worse.
Oh, obviously.
I don't personally believe that Kyle Allen is the future at quarterback. I don't think Tepper believes that either. But you never know.
Yeah.
You never know.
I don't think he's the future of the team either. He's going to be a quality backup. Yeah. That's I gave him a chance to see if he could build on it, and he proved to me that he's making mistakes now.
Well,
that he
it was good of you to give him that chance.
Well, you didn't.
Well, no. Which one of us was right? I don't know. But he we'll see what with Kyle Allen. But in terms of what was actually said at the press conference, did anything else jump out at you?
There's quite a few things he touched on. Nothing really jumped out at me, but I'm going to touch on some of these things. He wants a new stadium uptown within the next 10 years.
Yeah, which, that seems about right. This stadium is, 30 years old almost?
No.
Coming up on...
We're at how many years? 25? So
25
24 years.
Okay. So, yeah, it's getting up there in age.
Yeah.
So, yeah, within the next 10 years, I think he mentioned, or one of the reporters maybe mentioned, a site uptown that's fairly close to the stadium right now, that is basically the only empty parcel in uptown big enough to house a stadium.
But this is kind of my problem with this. He said he wants a new stadium uptown within the next 10 years. Well, he also is pretty sure, it sounded like he's getting a soccer team up here, which I like. I really like that idea. And that upgrades to the current stadium will need to be made for the team. So we're talking about adding more money to this current stadium, which I understand upgrades have to happen, but just for your soccer team, and then you're going to want $1 billion stadium. Let's just be honest. He's going to want $1 billion stadium in 10 years.
At least $1 billion stadium.
So
from what I read, and he did, we'll jump into the soccer thing real quick. He did mention that he does feel very optimistic about getting that MLS soccer team here. From what I read, the enhancements to the stadium wouldn't be ridiculously expensive. Basically, they would have to have new locker rooms.
Yeah.
New cameras installed for soccer camera angles, and then a center tunnel were the three major things that you would have to renovate for the soccer.
A center tunnel?
That's what I read.
Huh.
I don't know. I don't watch a ton of soccer. I'm super excited about Charlotte maybe getting a team.
Oh, I am too.
Because I'd love to actually get into it. But as of right now, I watch the World Cup every 4 years, and that's about it.
Yeah, my nephew plays a lot. I'll actually ask him about the tunnel thing.
Yeah, maybe that's just a thing with professional teams. I don't know. But either way, apparently that's kind of the extent to the modifications to the current stadium. But I did find, let's see, the Charlotte Pipe and Foundry, a 55-acre site a few blocks from the current stadium, would be the option. Tepper indicated he would be seeking public money for the new stadium, but also that he would use some of his $12 billion fortune for the project. So,
well, let's hope so, because
we know Charlotte is a little stingy on things like that.
they're stingy, but at the same time, last time this happened with, Richardson,
With upgrades to the current stadium.
the Charlotte jumped at it, which...
They didn't jump at it. They did allow it.
Yeah.
And then they basically asked Richardson to ensure that the team would be here for like 6 years or 12 years or 6 years now, and then another 180 million kicks in and something like that.
We're going in politics. I don't really want to go too far into this, but there was a point where they wanted to increase hotel tax by 1%. And that 1% was going to go into a fund to pay the off the upgrades. And the problem is, people were like, well, what are you going to do with the 1% afterwards? I don't understand why they didn't continue to do that, or just go ahead and have that, and continue to have that 1% accrue interest as upgrades for a new stadium / a new stadium that would eventually be built. Unfortunately, they never did that. But I always thought that would have been the most genius idea, because it's coming. I mean, after that stadium's built, in another 25, 30 years, another one will probably want to be built. It just happens. It's the cycle.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. I know there was a referendum on the most recent election cycle where the Arts and Sciences Council of Charlotte was looking to increase sales tax by something, 0.01% or something very small. Yeah. And they wanted to do that to basically increase the arts and sciences in Charlotte. Mm-hmm. And that had to be voted on by citizens, and it was overwhelmingly defeated.
Yeah.
And then now today I see that the Arts and Sciences Council is cutting their workforce by 15% as a result. But not really part of this podcast, but I think when you go something long-term like that, it has to be put to a public vote, and maybe that was the reason why.
Well, and a hotel tax shouldn't affect its residents. Yeah,
I don't know why that would be shut down, other than if you think that could result in less people coming to Charlotte and staying in hotels.
Yeah, but 1%, I can't imagine it would be a travesty.
Probably not.
I mean, how many times have you rented a hotel in Charlotte? I think I rented one once for my prom, many
what happened
moons
that night?
ago. We're on a podcast that is talking about football, and David Tepper eventually was talking about holding training camp at his new facility in Rock Hill, and potentially Charlotte next year, moving away from Wofford.
Yeah, I know. It seems like eventually in 2020, when that new Rock Hill facility opens, or 2022, excuse me, that's when the training camp practices, all that stuff will move there. But it did sound like, and he didn't say for sure, but it did sound like because of the new bubble, that holding training camp here might be the way to go next year. Although I could see maybe doing a few training camps down there in Wofford.
I think that would be smart.
Or a few practices, I guess.
Wofford has been very kind. I know is Richardson's hometown, and that's why.
Yeah.
But maybe go down there twice, or go down there for like 2 days, 3 days.
Maybe even kick it off down there.
Yeah.
Kick off training camp down there. And then
spend like the first week there, and then bring it up.
Yeah. Maybe even have, like, if you do joint practice or something, do it down there, something like that. I think it makes sense to keep that presence there.
I do too, because South Carolina is part of this team.
Yeah.
And with the stadium here, I know that eventually they're going to have Rock Hill, but I'm sure they want to be able to drive there and see their team.
Right. I think one of the other things he touched on was the fact that the Panthers did not send anyone to Atlanta for Kaepernick's workout, even prior to Kaepernick moving that workout. Mm-hmm. So it sounds like they just weren't in the market for a veteran quarterback at this time.
I don't think they are.
I don't blame them. Yeah,
If they were going to do that, they should have done it in the offseason. But no, they brought in Will Greer and they kept Kyle Allen. So at this point of the season, bringing in a veteran is not going to help this team break into the playoffs. They're just not. I mean, who's free out there as a veteran free agent right now?
Yeah, Colin Kaepernick.
Yeah, exactly. Colin. And sorry, Colin Kaepernick fans, I don't see him pushing the Panthers to the playoffs.
No, and Stephen A. Smith doesn't even think he really wants to play, but that's a conversation for a different podcast.
Again, we
you
are
sure
on different podcasts.
You sure you don't
today?
want to talk about your prom night? Let's see. Anything else that he talked about that's worth mentioning here?
I don't really have anything else. I mean, it feels really good that he did speak, though.
I like it a lot. I like him as an owner a lot so far.
So I do too. I mean, we'll wait until the stadium issues and stuff come about, but for the most part, I like what he sees. He's not going to deal with mediocrity. He said that, emphasized that, and I can't, discredit him that. And he also says he loses sleep on losses.
Yeah, he said he couldn't sleep Sunday night. He got up several times because he just felt shitty, like he said. Are you anti new stadium? It sounds like you might be.
I'm nervous about new stadiums because a lot of times, we're getting into political beliefs. A lot of times new stadiums don't actually bring in the revenue that they claim to, and it's a hamper on the government and the finances of the local, community.
I think a lot of times you're correct. However, I would say that in this particular case, with Bank of America Stadium as it currently is, you can't host a Final Four. You can't host a lot of indoor type events, monster jams or circuses or things like that would bring money and people into the city.
Well, Monster Jam usually goes to Lowe's Motor Speedway, I believe.
Well, that's true. That was a bad example. But like circuses, Cirque du Soleil, things like that, a lot of those things are going to the Spectrum Center or whatever. If they even come here, one Cirque du Soleil one time set up a big tent somewhere just because they couldn't find the right venue. So I think if you build particularly a covered stadium, which I have a feeling it would be.
It should be.
Yeah, maybe a retractable roof, something like that.
Yes.
That in this case, it would bring in more business than is currently coming. You would get the Final Four, for sure. You'd get the Final Four, 100%. You might even get a Super Bowl. And I think that's what he wants. He wants a Super Bowl. He wants a Final Four. He said that.
I feel nervous because a lot of the reports, which I can't, remember off the top of my head, just said most stadiums don't bring in that revenue. And I like Charlotte, but, finances are finances. You can't have more money going out than coming in. That's just the way it is.
Yeah, I mean, having an NFL team is a big business, though, and there is a cost to it, to the city. It'll be interesting to see what the split is going to be. I mean, David Tepper, at the end of the day, is a businessman. He's going to want to pay as little out of his own pocket as possible. Mm-hmm. Because, that's how he made $12 billion. You can't fault him for that. And this is the way things are done in the NFL, unfortunately.
Yeah.
It's just the way things are done. So, anyway, overall, I got a pretty good feeling out of the press conference, or whatever you want to call it. I think it showed that he is committed to bringing a winner here. He's also open to Cam staying. He's not, already, in his mind, Cam's not already gone, which I think is good.
And I think a lot of national pundits thought he was gone.
Yeah, and probably still do.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was pleased with it overall.
It felt like he was clearing the air a little bit and just kind of wanted to say his piece. And again, it's a nice welcome change from Richardson.
For sure, yeah. I mean, we should put a statue up of Tepper or something. That's probably another reason why he wants to build a new stadium, is so he can get rid of that damn statue.
Yeah, well, Richardson wrote it into the contract.
I hear you. All right. You want to take a quick break?
Yeah,
come back with power rankings in our preview?
Sounds like a great idea.
All right, we'll be right back.
For all the latest NASCAR content, including driver interviews, race recaps, fantasy NASCAR, listener call-ins, and giveaways, tune in weekly to the Lap Traffic Podcast on iTunes or your favorite hosting site. On the web, thelaptrafficpodcast.com, and on Twitter, @LapTrafficPC. Don't get caught chasing the lucky dog. Tune in each and every week to the Lap Traffic Podcast.
Hey, Steven, you think the Panthers are going to cover the spread this week?
You know I'm always going to put money on the Panthers, Jerry.
Well, since you're the type of fan that knows football so well and you could choose any game and call it, well, maybe MyBookie is the place for you, because it will let you turn all your sports knowledge into cash in your wallet.
You know, I like to do parlays. So that means, if I like the Panthers and then I see another couple of games that I think are just definite wins, like the Saints against the Falcons, that's an easy win. So I like to put my money on the Panthers and then maybe choose the Saints money line, something like that, and you increase your winnings that way. So I'm a big parlay guy myself. But right now, Jerry, if you join MyBookie, they'll match your deposit halfway. So that means if you deposit $2,000, they're going to match it to $1,000.
That's just free
Great.
money.
It's free money to play with.
Yeah. Just use promo code LATEFEES to activate that offer. Once again, that promo code is LATEFEES, LATEFEES, to take advantage of MyBookie's generous sign-up offer. Visit mybookie.ag today.
You play, you win, you get paid. And we are back. So let's take a look at the Week 12 Power Rankings, brought to you by NFL.com's Dan Hansis. Once again, I have looked at the Power Rankings pretty much as soon as they came out, and Jerry has not looked at them because he has way more self-control than I do.
Yeah, you're like a little kid with like $1 in his pocket. Yeah. You're like running to the convenience store trying to find whatever candy bar you can buy up to that dollar.
Yeah, I do the same thing with like the grades on the Charlotte Observer. As soon as the game's over, I'm like refreshing Charlotte Observer, looking for the grades. I just like doing stuff like that. I like stuff like this. Okay, so last week the Panthers were 15th, as they were the week before, as they were the week before that. What do you think now that we lost to the lowly Atlanta Falcons?
We got shellacked.
Embarrassing defeat.
Yes.
Ugly.
We were at 15. I think we dropped 5. I think we dropped down to 20. I wouldn't be surprised if Atlanta jumped us and is like 19 right now.
Oh, wow.
I mean,
we're 5-5. They're 3-7, and you think they're higher than us in the power rankings?
Because the way they looked the past 2 weeks against us and New Orleans, yeah, I do. Okay. I think they're a scarier looking team right now than the Carolina Panthers.
Well, Hansis, I guess, doesn't feel quite that bad about the Panthers. We did drop, but we only dropped 2 spots. We're 17.
Okay.
The Falcons, because you asked.
Yeah, I think they probably are the risers of the week.
They are the risers of the week, but only 3 spots.
Wow.
They're up to 22. So they were 25. They were 25, and they beat us that bad. Who do you think was the biggest faller this week?
I don't know. I don't remember the games. I should
You remember this game. You'd remember this game. Like a helmet to the head, you'd remember this game.
Oh. Pittsburgh.
Yeah. Pittsburgh fell 4 spots.
Well,
16.
I was shocked he had him so high anyways. Because
me too. He was all the way up to 12.
Mason Rudolph is not a starting caliber quarterback. I just don't see it.
Yeah.
I know he was projected to eventually become a starter. From what I've seen, the games I've watched with him as a quarterback, they need to bring in the undrafted kid who looked, in my opinion, a little bit better than he did. Devlin.
Duck Devlin.
Yeah.
Is his name. Yeah, Hansis has a Northeast bias, I'm pretty sure.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Where do you think he has the Jets, his favorite team? They're 3-7.
And we had 3-7 Atlanta at 22. I bet you he has them at 24?
Nah, 27. So who last? The Bengals.
Mm-hmm.
The Dolphins all the way up to 29.
The fish tank failed.
Yeah.
The fish
They're
tank.
too good.
Well, first of all, Tua's injured, so they can't even draft the guy that they were tanking for.
Give that coach a raise. Yeah, I know. Now, like, Joe Burrow becomes so much the no-brainer number one pick.
Yeah.
Which I guess the Bengals look like they'll probably get him.
Yeah.
I don't see the Bengals winning any games. They're
I don't
terrible.
either.
In fact, they made sure to take out their best quarterback and put in a really crappy Ryan Finley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're going to roll with that for the rest of the season. Why not?
Yeah.
If I was a Bengals
The Redskins are trying. They put in equally terrible Dwayne Haskins. But they messed up and they won a game earlier this year.
Did you see the video of him yelling at his offensive line during the game saying, "What do I have to do to help you out?"
I did. I took that one way, but the more I was looking at it and reading comments and things, it seems like a lot of people were feeling really bad for him that they just don't care. Like, the offensive line does not care about him.
Yeah, not at all.
And he's, like, pleading for them, like, please protect me. What can I do to help you protect me?
See, and that's kind of the way I read it, too. But I've heard other people...
I looked at it differently. I looked at it like, you're a rookie. What are you out here screaming at your offensive line for?
Yeah.
You know, the entire team sucks. It's not just them. You know, maybe you could do something, get the ball out of your hands quicker.
Yeah,
you know.
that's... I mean, I think going up to them and screaming on the sidelines probably not...
Yeah.
But maybe his, question, what can I do to, help you out? Like, hey, am I missing a protection that I need to make sure I catch? That the linebacker's constantly blitzing or something. You never know. Like, make sure you get it out within a second or two because, I don't know. It does not look good in Washington.
No, it does not. The Texans, we always like to check in on the Texans. They are 10th. 6-4, 1 game ahead of us, and we beat them. And they just got destroyed by the Ravens, 41-7.
Yeah, they did get destroyed.
The Ravens, by the way,
2?
number 2 still.
Yeah.
Niners number 1. Patriots 3.
Well, let's move on. Where is our opponent this week? New Orleans Saints.
What do you think? I will tell you where they were last week.
Okay.
They were 6th last week.
6?
They had fallen all the way from 2 to 6 last week.
I think they move up 1. They're 5.
You're correct.
Yeah.
They round out the top 5. Seahawks right above them. So, yeah. New Orleans Saints, our opponent this week. They are 12 spots ahead of us in the power rankings. They are 9.5-point favorites this week, which, I don't know. Is that insulting to us, or does that feel about right?
I mean, after last week, if this happened, if we played them before Atlanta, I would be insulted by this.
Agreed, yeah.
But after last week, I don't know.
They looked great last week, and we looked awful.
Yeah.
And really, you get 3 points for home typically, so they're really only about a touchdown favorite. Mm-hmm. That feels about right.
Yeah.
Let's look at the injury reports before we go too far into this. I'll read the Saints first. The following players did not practice: Andrews Pete, Marshawn Lattimore, Dante Harris, Zach Line, and that's it. Those 4.
Marshawn Lattimore, what is his injury? I don't know.
Hamstring. One of those soft tissue joints, as they say.
Has he been seeing the Carolina Panthers doctors? Because that seems to be going around our facility quite often. And groin injuries.
I hope so. At least that would be one thing that our doctors are doing right, with keeping him out of the game. Limited practice for them: Josh Hill, Larry Warford, Austin Carr, and Ryan Ramczyk. For us, the injury report is probably the best it's looked in a long time.
Woo!
Only 2 players did not practice on Wednesday: Ross Cockrell and Gerald McCoy. Of course, Cockrell missed the game last week. McCoy did play. I don't think he suffered any additional injury. It's probably one of those veteran days off type deal. And then limited practice for us: Dennis Daly, Eric Reed, Shaq Thompson, Brian Burns is full practice. So I don't know why Brian Burns continues to be listed on the injury report when he's been full practice for the last 3 weeks, but whatever. Daly, of course, did not play last week. Reed and Shaq did, so I would expect probably almost all of these guys to play. Maybe.
Damn it.
What are you doing? What are you looking up?
I was trying to get the beer bet of the week sound ready.
We're not even close to that yet.
Well, I was trying to gear it up.
Dang, Jerry. Anyway, I would expect all those guys to play except for Cockrell. I don't know the extent to his injury.
Yeah, with him being out last week, I don't have big high hopes for him.
But hey, it's just Drew Brees and one of the most dynamic wide receivers in the game going up against us. So we don't really need all the help we can get.
Well, I mean, they are 9th in passing, averaging only 256 yards per game.
But Teddy Two Gloves started a lot of those games.
And Michael Thomas just leads the league in receiving.
Right. Michael Thomas is... Ugh.
Oh, he's disgustingly good.
He's so good, I hate him.
You know what's funny, though, is their next leading receiver... Can you guess?
Is it Ted Ginn?
It is Ted Ginn. I'm not counting Kamara here, even though he has more receptions and yards. He has 22 receptions and 310 yards. That's it.
What is Kamara at reception-wise?
51 receptions, 373 yards.
Wow, really? Mm-hmm. So almost the same amount of yards and 20 more receptions.
Yeah.
Interesting. So Ginn's
actually
gotta be
30 more receptions, 29.
So Ginn's got to be averaging 17 yards a reception or
14.
something? 14, okay. Yeah, Ted Ginn, he stretches the field.
He really does, but Alvin Kamara, it's kind of surprising he's only at 373 yards. That's...
What's he averaging? 6 yards a reception?
7.
7? Yeah, that's very un-McCaffrey-like, I'll say that.
Yeah, it's really weird.
Yeah, so I mean, the New Orleans Saints are talented, especially on offense and really on defense too. But they're not 8-2 for nothing.
Yeah.
I mean this is a good team that we're going up against. And what do you think? I mean, how can we beat this team?
Well, I would say knock out Drew Brees, but that happened earlier in the season.
Yeah,
and
I don't know that would help. That might actually hurt.
Realistically, this is what I'm going to think. Panthers have 39 sacks on the season. Mm-hmm. New Orleans has only given up 19.
Okay.
So even when Brees was out, they weren't giving up sacks. They protected him. They gave him time. I think that is key. I think that's what the Falcons did. They really got after him. They sacked him 6 times. I think that's what we're going to have to do. I think we have to sack him 6-7 times to not... I don't think you rattle Drew Brees. He's just that type of professional that you don't rattle him, but...
You got to speed up his clock.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. Don't let Michael Thomas get open.
No.
Don't give him all that time. Yeah, I would agree. Pressure the quarterback. Take care of the football. Mm-hmm. Kyle Allen, take care of the football, man.
Yeah, and I know people are going to talk about Alvin Kamara, great running back. He's not having as spectacular of a season as people would expect. 103 carries, 472 yards. Latavius Murray is... I'm shocked he's getting this much. But Kamara was out.
Kamara was hurt for 3 games.
He has 398 yards.
Yeah.
Latavius
Murray's a good running back. I mean, he's, just doesn't get the opportunities because he played behind Dalvin Cook and now Kamara. So. And
wasn't he Oakland, or are they Oakland now? The Raiders. Mm-hmm. With the Raiders, he never caught on. I think he must be a horrible locker room guy, to be honest with you.
Maybe. Or maybe he's just one of those guys that's really good for 3 or 4 games and then he sucks the rest of the time, so you just keep him around.
Like he doesn't practice well, / they're like, well, he's a good backup, but he's not our starter.
Yeah.
But I think we're going to have to ride McCaffrey and we're going to have to get to Drew Brees.
That seems to be the Panthers' game plan.
That's what it should be. I mean, I don't know why Norv thought we should pass all over the Falcons last week, but...
That was such a weird, I know those first 15 plays, it seems like NFL teams script those first 15 plays. Why were 10 or 11 of those passes? I don't understand.
I am still frustrated and angry about that.
I don't understand. Yeah, so, I mean, this is maybe... well, I would say this is certainly the Panthers' most important game of the season, by far, up to this point, because I think the only way we make the playoffs is if we somehow win the division.
Agreed. And
we've got to win this game to do that.
We
We
have
lose
to-
this game, we're done. I mean, honestly,
yeah,
there's no way we make the playoffs.
I agree. I think
Realistically.
I made last week a do or die game, and
We died.
We died.
Miserably.
Like you said, there is a slight crack in the door, but I'm talking it's shut, but somehow it hasn't latched shut. There's that little bit of light there. That's us winning out and defeating New Orleans right now.
Yeah, I mean, it starts this week. You know, if they can find something within themselves, the coaching staff can find something that previously either just hasn't caught on, or, you know, maybe we finally get Burns back out there and he's a force. Kyle Allen magically rediscovers the first 3 weeks of Kyle Allen where he did not turn the ball over other than fumbles. You know, maybe that does it. I don't know. This team, it seems like maybe we're streaky this year, so let's go on a streak now. You know?
Yeah.
And not impossible. And it would be super fun if it happens.
Now, I did say that we'd have to ride Christian McCaffrey. I did not realize this, but New Orleans ranks third against the run this year. Giving up
They've
only
got a
80,
good defense.
they're ranked sixth overall in total defense.
Yeah.
Giving up only 85 yards on the ground. And when we play Tampa Bay, who's ranked number one, we couldn't get the ball going.
Shuts him down. We did play, he did run fairly well against San Francisco, which is pretty high up there, but that game was out of hand.
Yeah.
And they weren't, you could kind of tell when they were up 51 points, giving up a 40-yard run on McCaffrey, not that big of a deal.
Yeah, this is a very tough game, especially on paper. It looks like the Mount Everest type of game.
Now, last year, the first time we played the Saints, we were in a similar position in terms of people being really down on the team. We'd lost several games in a row, and they came out and played their hearts out defensively. They played extraordinarily well defensively. That was the first game, I think, that Rivera took over defensive play calling. So, if they really ratcheted up, and that was a primetime game too, I believe, but if they really ratcheted up and played to their talent level, you know, this could be a game.
It could be. And you bring up a very interesting point with Ron Rivera. How are his players going to respond to this criticism, this hot seat talk, this Tepper coming out and having a press conference?
Yeah.
You know?
Essentially saying, you know, if this mediocrity continues, I'm cleaning house.
Yeah.
I mean, he didn't say those words, but that was the message.
Yeah. That's what I got from it.
Yeah.
I mean, how are they going to respond? How are they going to go out there and play for their coach? And most times it's happened, his players responded. So you're right. They could come out and do that.
They could. I don't know that they will.
Well, do you want to go into our predictions?
Yeah, let's go ahead and go into our predictions. I think that, unfortunately, we're going to lose this game. Though I do think that it will be a very hard-fought game. And I think we'll have a chance to win it right up till the end. I think it's going to be a pretty fun offensive game. And I think that the Saints are going to win it 31-28.
Okay. I think it's going to be more of a defensive battle. I think New Orleans is going to pull it off. I think they win 24-20. I think we get some touchdowns in there. I think our offense does better than they did last week. But New Orleans defense is really good, and I don't think we can outpace them.
Yeah, I just think for some reason I think this is going to end up being a track meet, and it's just going to be an exciting game. It sounds like either way, both of us believe that we're going to beat the spread.
Yeah.
Or at least cover. So, bet on the Panthers.
At your own risk.
Covering the spread.
At your own risk.
Jerry will cover any losses.
No.
This is a legally binding contract.
No, this is not a legally binding contract.
So all emails to Jerry at...
No, I am not covering any bets.
Oh, man.
I don't bet myself, so...
Well, you should always bet on yourself, Jerry. Anyway, so normally we do a beer bet of the week. Mm-hmm. Beer bet of the week. Beer bet of the week. So I think it's going to be an offensive game. You think it's going to be more of a defensive game. Mm-hmm. Your total point total was 44. Mine was 59. Let's split the difference. Set the over-under at 50.5.
Again, you're shafting me a point on this. It should be 51.5.
So we're going to set it 50.5?
51.5.
All right, fine. 51.5. I'll take the over.
And I'll take the under.
And I am on a bit of a streak here in terms of beer bets. So looking forward to winning this one again. But hey, I mean, let's hope the Panthers do pull out the victory.
And I'm going to go ahead and give my bold prediction for this.
Bold prediction?
Bold. It's going to be bold. Kyle Allen will turn the ball over less than 3 times this week.
Oh my God. That is bold. That's quite bold.
He hasn't been able to do that recently, so let's...
You're saying total turnovers. Oh, man.
Because he can fumble it or throw a picks.
That is bold.
I think maybe in the off seasons we have him be tested for a color blind test. Maybe that's why he's throwing to the opposite teams in the red zone.
Maybe he's like Uncle Jack on It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. He just has very small hands, and he's very, self-confident about him. Doesn't want anyone to see his hands. And we get him some of those hand gloves like Uncle Jack wears, where it looks like he has giant hands. And he can hold on to the ball instead of just fumbling it all over the place.
Well, he also throws interceptions, too.
He does, but he also fumbles the ball
okay.
quite a bit. So Uncle Jack, Kyle Allen, those people that watch It's Always Sunny are going to laugh at that.
Well, I don't watch it.
Just because Uncle Jack is very funny. He's also sort of a pedophile. But anyway.
Wow, this podcast is really going off the rails since we
Jerry,
went on a losing...
You wanted to talk about your prom night, so let's talk about it. Was the lady satisfied? Yes or no?
We want to thank you for listening to Meow Mix. Oh, we got a Meow Mix mailbag. I forgot all about.
Meow Mix mailbag.
Now, we actually got this last week, but we didn't want to do it during the memorial of the last week's game. Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is from Brian. He said, "Hey guys, great show. One of my regular podcasts every week. Thank you. That's awesome."
Thank you.
He went on, says, "One item I'd recommend at the end of your shows, we hear the Panther roar. The roar is 10 times louder than your talking value." So we went ahead and we listened to your feedback, and we lowered the Panther roar last week. Hopefully we'll continue to keep it low and not burst your eardrums. But as always, we like to thank everybody for listening, and you can have your Meow Mix mailbag read if you want to email in. It's at meowmixmailbag@gmail.com. Also, like, subscribe, and give us a 5-star review, please, and thank you.
We will be back on Monday with our review of Panthers Saints. Hopefully we'll be talking about a victory, but we'll be here either way. So, everyone, until then, keep pounding.